Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Butt Knight.
We going around the horn here? I'm Ser Ezra, the Watchful. Can we just keep going around the horn here? So we got
going around the horn, man.
Yeah, who's up next? We got Jimmy.
I am Sir Jimmy of House Nuts, master of the web.
Let's go. We got Matthew next.
Sir Matthew of House Perry.
All right.
Hey, and I'm Ryan of House Terbush.
Let's go.
There we go, guys.
Let's go.
Impromptu kind of Patreon episode here. We were just Zoom hanging out, and we just, this is what happens. Sometimes we're just Zoom hanging out, and these are our bannermen, by the way. So we do these Zoom hangouts, but we were just Saturday night, free flowing, drinking some White Claws, and I've been working on a theory, and so I said, you know what? Let me toss it to you guys, and see kind of what you think. I'm going to do a more detailed sort of YouTube video when I get ready for this. This is kind of the next video I'm working on, and I'm titling it The Crown versus the Sword. So we're going to be talking a little bit about young Griff and Daenerys. So one of the items that is believed to be over in Essos is the sword Blackfyre. There's obviously a lot of theories about young Griff potentially being a Blackfyre. A lot of people think that he is actually a Blackfyre of the line of Illyrio and Illyrio's sort of lover, and that may be the line where he comes from. So we know that the Golden Company is going to fight alongside him, and the Golden Company does not fight alongside pretty much anyone. So one of the big theories is that he is going to receive the sword Blackfyre, which will sort of legitimize his claim as he's coming over to sort of take over Westeros. So that is kind of obvious. A lot of people kind of think, regardless of whether he gets the sword or not, a lot of people think he's a Blackfyre. He's a pretender. He's not the real son of Rhaegar. But another thing that could be kind of interesting and a dynamic we could get is the crown of Aegon Targaryen. So throughout the history of A Song of Ice and Fire, there are plenty of crowns created. Aegon the Conqueror has a Valyrian steel sword, and it has rubies inside of it, these square rubies. Aegon has it, then his son Aenys, who becomes king, chooses not to wear that. He has his own crown created. Maegor the Cruel ends up using that. Aegon II ends up using that Valyrian steel crown, and then Daeron the First uses it, and then it is believed to be lost in Dorne, which is quite interesting given the idea that Dany spent time in Dorne. If you go with the lemon tree, right? The red door with the lemon tree theory. Did Dany spend some time in Dorne? And in the show, we see one of the first people she makes an alliance with when she comes back is Dorne. So I guess a question could be raised. Does Dorne have this Valyrian steel crown? And if so, are they going to give it to Dany when she comes over? And then you can have these sort of objects with young Griff saying, well, look, I have the sword. I have Blackfyre. I'm the real deal. And Dany says, but I have the crown. I am the real deal. She has the crown of Aegon the Conqueror, who used 3 dragons to conquer Westeros, right? With his 2 sisters. And, you think, remember, Daemon Blackfyre has the sword, and everybody says he had the sword. You could just see it. He was the guy, but he didn't have the crown like his brother did. So do you think we could see something like that? Do you think we could see a situation where you have these sort of objects representing different things, and then we have this sort of crown versus sword idea?
Let me jump in just quickly, and then I'm going to toss this to Jimmy and see what he thinks, and we'll get to Matthew and Ryan. I think there's a lot of different things. Let me think here, like with Viserys and a crown, and like selling your crown, and then her not wanting to, once she has a crown, she thinks to her brother selling their father's crown. You know what I mean? Like, right. Because we've even thought, I remember when he first brought this up, like, where's the Mad King's, crown? What are some of the other objects that maybe Viserys had and sold? Yeah. So there are some things like that that Danny, I think, would be, if Dorne has that, hell yeah, you use it. I mean, you use that to your advantage and try to make some type of alliance. They're already, I mean, sending Quentin to try and secure this alliance. And yeah, I think that would be really cool. It's just, I mean, I think we should look into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be extraordinarily symbolic, right? And also, it's going to be a continuing theme of referring back to Viserys and how he kind of, in a lot of ways, he was the beggar king, right? So she will do anything to not be the beggar queen. And I think that having the crown and the sword, just all these symbols, are all going to reassure her that her destiny is sealed and that it is meant for her to come back and reclaim her throne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see him for sure.
Yeah. Matthew Perry, what do you?
I don't like. So you were saying about young Griff getting Blackfire, like when he's already over in Westeros, or like.
So yeah, he's already over in Westeros, but there's there is some text and there's a lot of people that theorize that he will get it one way or another. Somebody could bring it over. The Golden Company is supposed to fight alongside with him, come over as well, and so that it could be presented to him in sort of like he's gonna have the sword Blackfire, which may also indicate even further that he is a Blackfire. And then the crown, it's just, I just find it interesting that Dany, in the show, we see her first alliance is with Dorne. Dorne's trying to make alliances with her in the first place. And the last place that Aegon the Conqueror's crown was seen was in Dorne. Right. And so it would just be sort of this sort of symbolic thing. She comes over as supposed to be like Aegon the Conqueror, 3 dragons, and then she would also be wearing this sort of crown. She would come over and get that sort of symbol of this is your true, you are the dragon thing. And I just think it's interesting that the last place we see the first Targaryen dynasty crown is in Dorne.
Yeah. Yeah. And Matthew, what do you think about this? So here's something else. We know about the rubies, right? We know about all of this. So this first crown had a bunch of rubies in it too. Okay. So it's Valyrian steel, which is a big deal. And it has the rubies for all of, all the theories that we want to put out there of glamours and all that kind of stuff. Like this bad boy has it. And
Rhaegar having all the rubies in his armor too, right?
Right. And so it'd be kind of a big, cool, magical, and like Jimmy said, symbolic. And it would be interesting to see to see if they could present that and bring that forward or something. I mean, Blackfire is cool too, and I'm still wondering about that. Like who's going to also like a false crown or a false sword could be presented too. Viserys or not Viserys, Varys and others might have some type of sword that they're going to say, "Here we go, young Griff. Here's your sword. This is Blackfire," and try to make it seem like he, it could be Blackfire too. We don't freaking know. It's been lost with Bittersteel, and yeah.
Right, because it was taken to Essos, right?
Yeah.
Blackfire.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we don't know if Bloodraven brought it back. Like if that's a theory, is that Bloodraven could have brought it back. It is the only Valyrian steel crown. All of the other crowns are gold, or you have one of flowers. Then the Baratheons start making theirs out of like wood, right?
Yeah.
To make it seem gold, but it looks like roses and things like that.
Right. Ryan.
So sorry, if young Griff gets this, if he gets presented with Blackfire, and is he more proclaimed a Blackfire than he is a Targaryen then? And then who do they follow? Who does the realm follow, I should say?
Well, I think that's going to be the conflict. I mean, I don't think him getting the sword Blackfire. I think him getting the sword Blackfire is his way of saying I'm a Targaryen. I have the ancestral Targaryen sword. It's just we as the reader know the Blackfire rebellion, and that would be interesting. Could that also signify more that he will then later be revealed to be a Blackfire? But that for so long was considered you were the king. You had that sword.
Yeah, and one more thing here. No, we'll go to Sir Ryan. So, like, the other thing is too, young Griff is coming over, and he's already been talking to John Connington and others about what he's paving the way, so that way when his aunt does show up, that he can, present her with this stuff, right? And it's almost like it's not like he's necessarily going for it himself. I think he'll get talked into it. Maybe some conflict might come up or whatever. But like supposedly, he wants a marriage alliance, and there's potential for a marriage alliance or something, or for them to unite. I mean, dragons are the big deal. You have dragons. I mean, no freaking Valyrian steel sword is going to do diddly squat against three dragons. But Ryan, what do you think, man?
It's an intriguing idea, and I really enjoy the theories of the thoughts and questions that you guys are coming up with right here. The thing that I always go to when we start talking about Dorne in Winds of Winter is Arianne Martell. She's going up into the mainland now. She's going up into Westeros. I know that Dorne's part of Westeros. Maybe kind of depends on how you want to look at it, but is she taking something up there to John Connington? Is she going up there to find someone else? Which is she taking? Is she taking the sword or the crown? Is that going to play in it all? It's kind of exciting to see how that goes then.
Yeah, and you know what? That's actually a really good point, because that's the whole thing. Is she is going up in an effort to kind of court this what would be Aegon Targaryen, and her brother went and did the opposite. And so there's a lot happening in the Bone Way. There is an army laying in wait that supposedly on her command we could put behind young Griff, who is, I believe, in the Winds of Winter chapter. It's been hinted at to Arianne that he has already left and is meeting Mace Tyrell out in the field, and that they're already out there just on the precipice of this battle outside of King's Landing. So it's like, that's how she misses him, right? So she gets there in the Winds of Winter chapter, and it's sort of like he's not here. He's actually decided to lead his forces up against the Tyrells. So yeah, what is it that she's bringing, or what is Dorne hiding and holding? Yeah, which one do they have? Which, because I think we do assume that Blackfire, and it makes sense that it's over in Essos, or that it's been hidden within the Golden Company, or that Bittersteel or someone else has it, and that all of those people seem to be gathering around. But it would be interesting if, and maybe right now it's just an offer, and back in Sunspear we're holding on to the crown. It's not even out there in the hands of Arianne yet, but it's something that we're gonna present once we've gotten like a legitimate alliance or something. So, because there's definitely something. Dorne has to have a pretty big play here, and they're trying to pick the right side. It's going to be ironic, though, that you have these last two supposed Targaryens coming back, and they don't get along. And that kind of, when you look at the show, season 8, you have like our two Targaryens, who one ends up killing the other one. Which is nuts. That could happen with young Griff, and that could happen with Daenerys. And those two kind of going head to head. I don't know. See, because I keep thinking that we're going to be united. Something has to happen to Hisdar first, right? So she's still married to Hisdar, and the whole thing is going to happen over in Meereen when she comes back. That needs to be dealt with, right? So, and then from there, she's going to come over to Essos, and we got to figure out what's up. But yeah, it's intriguing. I like the objects, the power.
Yeah, Illyrio says he wants to give young Griff his blessings, and he has a gift for him in the chests. Halden tells him there is no time for the litter. Illyrio gets angry and says there are things Griff must know. Halden eyes Tyrion and then begins to speak in another language. Tyrion cannot tell what it is, but thinks it might be Volantine. He catches a few words that come close to High Valyrian. The words he catches are queen, dragon, and sword.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So yeah, people think, and All Shift X did a video talking about the Blackfyre rebellion, so that was one of the things he said too, is that it seems like Illyrio is going to be gifting him the sword Blackfyre, which I do think as long as Blackfyre is not, I think it's most likely that it's in one of two places. One, it's in Essos, because Bittersteel takes it over there and it stays over there. Or two, you go down it's a Long Claw theory, right?
Mhm.
In that when Bloodraven and Bittersteel fight, Bloodraven takes Blackfyre with him, and he then has both swords. Dark Sister, which is most likely the sword in the cave that Mira picks up, and he also has Blackfyre, hides it away so Jon can get it, and it's Longclaw. So that's kind of where I think Blackfyre is. But so if young Griff gets it, it's certainly a symbol of Targaryen power. And then there's also sort of the connection with, it's also like a Blackfyre sword, right? But it had been called Blackfyre forever, but it's what creates the Blackfyre rebellion.
Right.
So it'd be kind of fitting for him to have it. But the crown is where I think things get really interesting. And again, there's no proof at all to say that Dany's going to get this crown, that Dorne has it or anything. But I just think it would be interesting because the last place we see it is Dorne in the histories. And then Dorne is basically written out of the TV show. So it's hard to really sort of pull anything that might happen out of that because who knows? Because they just sort of abandon that storyline. So anything that they knew happens in the actual story, it's hard to say because we don't get any of that. Not that I think that the show would have done that anyway, but I think it just could be something interesting when Dany gets over there, if she does go to Dorne, like we see her do in the show, and that's a first alliance. And then one of the things they say, oh yeah, by the way, we have this, and they use that as sort of like a bargaining chip with her because she's probably showing up with 3 dragons. Who, Dorne has in the past been able to get rid of, but I think they're going to be forming an alliance with Dany right then and there, and they're going to say we have this as well, and it's the long lost crown of Aegon Targaryen, and then it'll sort of solidify her with Dorne as a peace offering, and then she will have that crown to put on her head and say, I am the real deal. I am Daenerys Stormborn. I have the crown of Aegon the Conqueror. I don't need a Valyrian steel, sword. I have 3 dragons. Like Aegon didn't win Westeros with the sword Blackfyre. He won it with his 3 dragons, like I'm about to.
Fire and blood.
Yeah,
right.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does she land in the show? We see her land at Dragonstone, right? Does she land in Dorne in the books? Does she take that route? Like, do we know what she's gonna do specifically when she gets to Westeros?
Yeah, I think she probably will land in Dragonstone first, but I do think she will go to Dorne, and that's where she's gonna make an alliance. Now, she also makes an alliance with the Tyrells. She makes an alliance with the Tyrells, the Dornish, and Yara in the show, Asha in the book, sort of that splintered sort of Greyjoy army, which is probably going to be pretty similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be that's probably going to be pretty similar to who her allies will be, because young Griff is going to go do his own thing. She's going to probably view him as the Mummer's dragon, and that's going to turn into its own thing. Cersei may not even survive. Who knows how that's all going to play out. But she's obviously not making an alliance with the Starks, who are pretty much gone, or they're dealing with their whole thing. And then the Aarons are kind of off, isolating from everybody. So that's probably who she's going to make an alliance with to take on. Young Griff may marry Cersei, for all we know. May marry Cersei. So if you go that route, then she's going to need alliances, and that's
and Euron wants to marry Dany. So
yeah,
man,
right. Let me throw one curveball in here, just real quick for consideration, just to toss it out. This is interesting. I did, Matt, you said that the young dragon, Daeron the First Targaryen, who went, on his conquest of Dorne, he's eventually killed by Dornishmen with the sword in hand, with Blackfyre in hand, wearing the crown, correct? Wearing both crown and sword. He had both. Mm-hmm. So it is unknown when Blackfyre was returned to the possession of the Targaryens, because he was killed. He had his Kingsguard all around him. 3 of them are dead. The Dragon Knight is taken, is captured, And it is never said in any of the things when Dorne returned that sword. We know that it quote does return. Is it the sword, right? Or the whole thing. But like Blackfyre goes missing. Blackfyre is actually in the possession of the Dornish, and so is the crown. So they give they have them. They have this crown. Why not you? There is a significant crown that they have.
Why doesn't the crown come back?
Right. Why doesn't the crown come back, and why is it just a sword? And is it the sword? I mean, again, how many Valyrian steel swords are out there? Blackfyre is probably pretty distinct, but did they make a replica? I mean, is there another? Is there?
That, but
I'm telling you right now.
Well, maybe, but it is interesting. The crown though is interesting because it's, if it were just a gold crown, right, then it'd be one thing. It's specifically the crown of Aegon the Conqueror, and it is a Valyrian steel crown. So it's like it is double special in that one. There's not a lot of Valyrian steel around, even at that point in time. What do they do with it? And it just goes missing, and it's never mentioned again. So Blackfyre gets returned. The sword
supposedly, I'm being dead serious. Like,
well, yeah, I know. I get you.
But like,
I get you.
The whole, why return it though? What's the exchange? Why just give the sword back? What do you get from it? Like that's just, I'm saying it's a mystery. It is unknown as to when, where. I mean, a period of time goes by where they have both of those artifacts in Dorne, and unless it's like in a marriage agreement or whatever, like the sword Blackfyre is gone.
Well, I guess I can see how they would be, because so many other kings because even other kings don't even really care as much about that crown. Because like Aenys doesn't use it. A lot of the other people have the ability to use it and they choose not to. So I could see them one, not even the Targaryens not really caring about it or whatever, but it's the sword. The sword is obvious, is pretty obvious. They have two Valyrian steel swords, but it's always like Blackfyre is the one you gotta have.
Yeah. It must have. I bet you that will be something though that was left out intentionally by George, and it's going to be a negotiating piece or something between them. I mean, I'm supposing it's going to be a pretty hard deal to kind of fake a Valyrian steel sword, all that kind of stuff. But the idea that there has to be, that's a big chip to give back, especially because it's a sword that legitimizes whoever has it. That's the whole point. The Blackfyre Rebellion, it happens and takes place because one person got a sword over the other one, and it's just, why not explain all of that? I mean, this king dies with sword in hand. They have it. Baelor the Blessed goes down, and I mean, it's just like,
we don't know. The only thing we know is that it had to have been returned at least by the reign of Aegon IV, because that's when he hands it to Daemon.
Right, and it's supposed.
So, there's two reigns, right? Baelor the Blessed, it probably comes back during Baelor's reign, if I had to take a guess, because he kind of just like, go make peace with Dorne. And then Viserys II, but we're going to see in House of the Dragon, because Viserys II is, I think he's a pretty good king. I mean, he reigns for a long time. He seems like he's able to get a lot of deals done, so we'll see. But
because interesting, let me see. When you look at the sword's history, you've got the young dragon, and then the next time that it's mentioned, as you say, is 182. King Aegon the IV Targaryen chose to bestow the Blackfyre sword on Daemon. So you're telling me during the dance? So what we're going to see in House of the Dragon is we don't have the Blackfyre sword in the Dance of Dragons. It's not there. No one has it.
No one has
it. Right.
There's only one Valyrian steel sword, Dark Sister, which is used by Daemon Targaryen.
Yeah.
In the battle about the God's Eye.
Right.
Yeah.
He has it. And then it gets dropped into the lake, and then people go get it later.
Yeah. It's still in Aemon's skull, if I remember.
Yeah. They go pull it out.
That's sick. It's just sick. It's a really cool observation, something to think about. How those things, people rallied behind the sword. They really rallied behind the sword. Would they rally behind the crown as well?
The crown of it. I mean, if Daenerys Targaryen shows up and she has 3 dragons and she's wearing the crown of Aegon the Conqueror, and she's got these Dornish people with her.
Yeah, it's cool.
Then when Jon Snow's revealed to be the son of Rhaegar and no one cares, I mean, that's even more heartbreaking that people don't view you as the real as the rightful heir, man. That's gonna make it even more heartbreaking.
She's got all the dragons and no one cares. They get dragon, crown. She might even have the sword, and now people are just like, we don't even care. And all she's been told is singing about her return in the streets. But no, wow.
Sounds to me like I'd hear some bells and it'd be a triggering PTSD moment because thinking about Khal Drogo and everything that's been taken from you, and I'm gonna torch the city too.
Yeah.
Young Rick seems determined though, because like the last time I read Dance of Dragons, and like the conversation that he has with Tyrion when they're playing the Savas game, and he really like changes Young Rick's mind about waiting for Daenerys, and said just go to Westeros and take those kingdoms and be there and then wed her instead of being like a beggar king. And it just seems like young Griff is not gonna back down easily.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks, guys, for helping us out on here this Patreon episode. As always, fun to try to dive into some of these more obscure theories and just pick an object and be like, what is the deal going on with that? So we'll be back with more Patreon content, and as always, remember that return is coming.